Why meets the How Equity Plan Design Alternatives. Mr. Jalaj Sinha, Head Business Development, ESOP Direct, a Qapita company. Mr. Jalaj Sinha leads business development for consulting assignments at ESOP Direct, specializing in designing equity-based compensation schemes. With over 10 years of experience, he previously led the India sales team at HRO platform BPO Solutions at Tata Consultancy Services. He is a chartered accountant and a commerce graduate from the University of Allahabad.
At the back? Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. And I'm here to represent Qapita. So before I go with the introduction, let me just brief you about what I'm going to talk about. So basically in this session, I'm going to share some perspective on the ESOP landscape in India. We'll touch upon the instruments that are practiced, what are the types of this instrument, also a comparison around these instruments, and also a bit of a high-level benchmarking. The intent of this session is not to be very technical, so we'll be remaining at high level and at the same time focus on the perspective which is the alternative instruments here. So without any further ado, let me begin with. So Qapita and ESOP Direct combined together in the 2022. We have been in this space for last 22 years plus. We are an end-to-end service provider, which where we help companies in designing of the program, documentation, administering the plans once these are implemented. Along with that, industry benchmarking, acting as trustees, a lot of work on the financial compliance side, and also we help unlisted company ESOP program to create liquidity for their ESOP holders. So that's another area that we have added. So we believe that innovation is the key for growth and future success. And this innovation is promoted through human capital. And human capital, the best way to democratize it and make it more powerful is by sharing ownership, and this with investors, shareholders, and also including employee. So we see our role, and we want to partner with companies at these who believe in this progression at each stage, basically starting from the seeding stage to building, and then the harnessing, and finally unleashing of it. Our service offering has been designed around this concept. So in the initial stage of seeding the ownership, we help companies in coming out with their programs, benchmarking, documentation, implementation, employee communication. Then building stage is where the communication, the administration, both from the employee perspective as well as from the company perspective. And then harnessing, which is the ongoing compliance, valuations, reporting, disclosures. So how the outward view your program. So disclosure requirement, compliance to regulation comes under that head. And then finally, the unleashing of the power of ownership is when the monetization happens at the time of exercise, and also enabling it through the platform, and in case of unlisted companies, providing them a marketplace where there can be provision of liquidity. So where we are as of now in the last 22 years, we are pretty much market leaders in India. We are working with more than the 2,000 companies. Some of these logos that you see here are prominent names. It is also very happy for me to see more than 10 companies who are our clients, present in this event. We are working with almost 51 unicorns as of now, and we are serving more than 250,000 employees on our platform. On the listed side, we are working with almost 108 companies, and out of this 108 companies, 32 companies are from the Nifty 50 side. So the team Qapita is here today, along with me, my colleague Tanmay, Ekta, Isha, Sudhanshu, Sharad, and Shashank. We are here today for any help that you may want us to provide you with, or any information that you want. So let us come to the ESOP landscape. So where do we see ESOPs or equity compensation in India? So as far as coming to the first data point is how many companies have implemented. So by estimate, it's almost 10,000 plus companies. So that is the size of the market here who have implemented ESOPs. From the participant standpoint, almost 8 lakh plus participants are covered by ESOPs here, and the value of options is close to 2 trillion rupees, which is roughly $25 billion. This was a number which was taken some 6-7 months back, so the estimate is that this number would have been now $35 to $40 billion. The growth rate in terms of the companies who are implementing ESOP every year is like 25 to 30%. And there is, so if you see the listed companies, there are only 700, 800 companies who have implemented ESOPs, whereas on the unlisted side, we assume that 10,000 companies plus would have been issued options, out of which 5,000 companies would have been listed. So the reason for the companies to implement equity program, when we did the survey, we got the top 3 reasons was retention, reward, wealth creation, and employee ownership. So this is the prominent reason behind ESOPs. As far as, if we look at the element of the pay of the executive comp, this is forming part of the LTIP. So from the retention, when that objective gets served, shareholders alignment is alignment with the strategic goal, value creation, that also gets aligned with ESOP, because this is linked with the valuations and also the growth in the company. So given that, as you have seen, the more than 10,000 companies issuing ESOPs, all sectors, whether private, public, including startups to large established companies, are been doing it. And also from the industry, all major industry verticals have, we see in our, surveys, who have responded that they have ESOP programs for their employees. Now I will go to this slide, which is a very basic slide talking about the ESOP life cycle. Many of us would be knowing it, just to refresh the memory. So there is 5 stages in the ESOP life cycle. The first stage is the granting of the option. So basically at this stage, letters are issued, commitment is made. The second stage is vesting of the option. So vesting of the option is the stage where the options rights are now crystallized. So employee has the full right. It is the choice to exercise or not to exercise. So if the options are in money, which means there's a value to it, they will exercise. And the period within which they exercise is known as the exercise period. So from grant to vesting, there's a vesting period. There's a minimum 1-year vesting period prescribed under the regulations. There's no cap on the maximum period. And then from vest to exercise, there's an exercise period during which the employees have to exercise. Post-exercise, the company issues shares. There's an allotment, or in case of a secondary share, they will be transferred. So probably a trust in this case would be transferring shares to the employee in case of secondary transfers or secondary sourcing of shares. And then finally, the employee will decide when they want to monetize. So if there's a market, they will sell it in the exchange, or if this is unlisted company, they will look at opportunities on the off-market side to find buyers and make it. So we are involved in all the these stages, the 5 stages. We serve it. Now let us look at the instruments that we have in the equity-based compensation. We don't have to go deep dive into the scenario and the models behind it. We just look at what these models are, and then we'll also see the lens from the long-term incentive plan. I'll talk about the ESPP after I finish the long-term incentive plan component. So the long-term incentive plan can be both equity settled and cash settled. In case of a equity settled, we have ESOPs, which are employee stock options. Then we have restricted stock units, and then stock appreciation right. So the difference between ESOPs and RSUs is only the strike price, that is the exercise price. So in case of ESOPs, these are granted at market price, whereas RSUs, these are granted at discount to market price or at face value. So ESOPs and RSUs, they are the same concept, same instrument. The only difference is between the strike price or the exercise price of the units which are granted under these schemes. Then we have stock appreciation right. So stock appreciation right is a program where the employee is given the appreciation in the value of these units from one point in time to the other point in time where these units are settled. And this appreciation is paid in terms of the value of the equity which is prevailing on that date. So SARs settled in equity is also comes under the equity settled instrument, is a part of your LTIP. However, the treatment of it is a bit different than the ESOPs and the RSUs. Now, why this is different? Because in case of SARs, you will not know how many shares will be issued at the end of the settlement. Unlike ESOPs and RSUs, you know on day one that let's say one option will convert into 1 shares. So when you exercise an option, you will be issued 1 shares over there. However, in case of SAR, since the appreciation has to be paid in terms of a value, this will be less than 1. So the dilution for SAR, which is the number of shares required for fulfilling that obligation, will always be lesser in case of ESOPs in the SARs instrument. Then we have cash settled instruments. So companies, those who cannot dilute for reasons, there can be many reasons for not diluting. One, the promoters are already diluted. Second, there may be JV arrangements where the JV partners have to maintain that shareholding. So in such cases, companies also has an option of cash settled LTIP, which can be done through phantom stock. So phantom stock and SARs as a concept are same. The only thing is in case of phantom, you are paying the appreciation over that period in terms of cash rather than in equity. So there is no dilution in phantom stock. It's a cash settled scheme. Hence the company needs to maintain a provision. On the cost side also, this will be higher when the cost enters the book. Then we have a deferred cash plan where typically an amount is set basis the tenure the employee has spent in the company, and there is a associated deferral period. So these are the 5 typical instruments in a long-term incentive planning which companies employ. We'll see the difference or the comparison between these instruments in the next slide. Basically, the equity settled instrument, ESOP, RSU, SARs, and phantom. Now coming to ESPP. Now this is one animal in the room which not many companies in India have done it. So these are known as employee share purchase program. Now employee share purchase program are not typically incentives. These are investment plans. So this is not considered only meant for senior leadership or key position. This is an option which is given to everyone in the company to where they can invest some part of their payroll through a contribution in the company owned shares. So this is the concept of ESPP, where this comes as another opportunity for the employee to make investment. The company shares becomes an asset class, and the contribution can run into cycles. These cycles can repeat itself. The employee can stop their contribution or can increase their contribution depending upon the plan flexibility. However, the importance of this plan is this allows everyone to have at least an opportunity to become a shareholder in the company. Now, the question would be that why employee would invest in ESPP when he can buy from the market if the shares are available. So typically the incentive structure in the ESPP is that these are given at discount. They are given at discount at market price. There are also provisions like look back period, where if the period when the contribution started 6 months back, the prices were lower, he can also get the advantage of that price. So a lot of flexibility is available. We have also seen in the previous slide that around 8 lakh employees have been covered by ESOP. So there would be more than 3 crore employees working in corporate today. So there's only a fairly small section of employees who are part of equity program. So this is one instrument which companies can contemplate, and this also promotes your engagement not only at certain levels but also across. And from the ESG perspective, also it improves your performance score. So let us look at this table. And if we see from the pros and cons lens, ESOPs, RSUs, and SARs, they will all have dilution. Their dilutions will be different. So ESOPs will have the higher dilution, RSUs will have a lower dilution, actually the lowest dilution, and SARs will have a lower dilution between ESOPs and RSUs. Phantom, there is no dilution as such. So this, for companies who don't want to dilute, for them, Phantom is the instrument. Those who can have dilution, then ESOPs, RSUs, and SARs are the choice. In case of Phantom, there is a cash outflow on the company. In case of the other, the top three categories, there is no cash outflow from the company. So for Phantom instrument, the company needs to maintain a reserve. Also, the companies will be tend to conservative, formula for estimating the Phantom's payout. So that's also one of the negatives, over there. In terms of employee, ownership on the retention, equity settled instruments work better than the Phantom because with equity you also associate, alignment and the ownership. So, that's where the pros is for the equity side. Let us come to the administration part of it. So as far as Phantom is considered, there's no rules as such as to, how much Phantom, what will be the terms and conditions, whom this can be granted. Whereas for the equity settled instrument, both the SEBI regulations and Companies Act have set of rules which has made distinction between employees, non-employees, minimum period, strike price. All that has been considered in the regulation. So this is Phantoms are not regulated, whereas the equity settled instruments are regulated. RSUs, which is deep discount face value, will, typically these resolution in listed companies, they go through proxies, they view it and they also provide their opinion. So generally proxies, they have an adverse view on RSUs program. From a dilution standpoint, so if you look at the first three categories, ESOPs will be highest, RSUs will be lowest, and SARs will be in between ESOPs and RSUs. Now coming to the cost that enters the book. So first of all, ESOP program, they have a cost and this company needs to amortize. So when we do the costing, which is typically the fair value of the unit, so in case of ESOPs, this will be lesser than RSU. RSU will be higher than ESOP. SARs will be more or less, it is same as ESOPs, whereas Phantom will be highest. So what we can see here is the cost which enters the books will be highest in case of Phantom because there we have to do a mark to market. Whereas in case of the first three categories, the cost is measured at the time of grant and hence and that cost doesn't change. So if the company has certain restrictions on the cost, because this is going to dilute the EPS, so there they may evaluate accordingly. Now coming to the ROI aspect, I would not like to look at Sonika, but anyways, ROI, if we were to measure, in case of ESOPs, the ROIs are higher, but there is a higher risk also. ROI in this case is the company will dilute more, but the value which ESOP instrument can make can be highest among the categories because the employee also gets more shares. So as we have seen in ESOPs, the dilution is highest, which is more shares are given to the employee. So in case if the company has done phenomenally well, or it's grown good in its years of the plan period, the ROI in case of ESOP program will be higher. In case of RSUs, there will be gain. The risk is also low because the employee will gain any which case. The prices will not go below the face value. So, but since they receive lesser number of shares, their overall gain will be lesser as compared to ESOP in a growing scenario. So this is a subtle difference which one needs to understand between ESOPs and RSUs. So RSUs is not always good if that comes in the realm, in the public sphere that ESOPs, since they are market price, hence they are disadvantaged as compared to RSUs, which are given at a deep discount. SARs have a sort of a marginally, it will be different from ESOP. Their number of shares is also lesser, so your upside will be lesser as compared to ESOP share, because you are getting less number of shares as compared to ESOP share. And in case of phantom, the cost and the benefit which the employee earns is the same, so the company doesn't make any difference over there. Now, so before I go to that slide, from an ESOP perspective, since this is part of the LTIP planning, the implication on the strategy, one needs to ensure that there is an alignment with the strategic goal. Second is there is a proper balance between pay and reward. So the LTIP or the ESOP, what we are doing, should have some element of risk, which means that the employee would not earn it or earn a lesser amount of it if the performance conditions are not met. And the value proposition for the participant should also be compelling. Just give me a minute. These are some of the trends. I'm not going to go into the details of it. What I will suggest is we have a survey which we did in 2022. We are going to come out with another survey here. Please visit our booth, and you can get a copy of this survey. This has more than 20-30 questions. It's a detailed survey which has a participation of more than 100 listed companies and 200 unlisted companies. So overall 300 companies participated. Again, the team is here. So anyone, any question around your equity compensation, please let us know. You can take a snap also. Please connect us wherever, on social media. There's also a lot of material that we publish on our website, social handles. So please take advantage of it. This is all what I have to say, and I'm there. So please come to me or my team if you have any clarifications, queries around this subject. Thank you.